Okay, let's begin. Narsimhare, go ahead.
Okay. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vignopashantaye Tada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Mano buddhi hankara chittani naham na cha shotra jinnana na cha prana netram na cha vyoma bhumir na tejo na vayuh chidananda rupah shivoham shivoham chidananda rupah shivoham shivoham na cha prana sanjo न वै पंचवायुः न वा सप्तधातुर् न वा पंचकोशः न वक्षाणि पादौ न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहो मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्दो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभूत्वाच्च सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न वा बन्धनं नैव मुक्ति न बन्धः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं 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 शिवोऽहम्
Anna, we can't hear you.
Microphone is off, Ramkrishnji.
All right, we have been studying the Advaita. How to get to liberation is what we are studying. The liberation is possible only through jnana, self-knowledge. Now, the self-knowledge process, what we are thinking right now, the self, we are all experiencing the body as the self. So then we went through the Dehatraya, that is the body, the subtle, physical body, subtle body, and the causal body, Karan Sharira. Those three things we identified, and we are not any one of these. The Atma is different from all these three, and we are that Atma. That's one model we studied. Then we studied this Panchakosha. in order to get to really understand the body, the subtle body and the causal body, how they are interacting, this Panchakosha Viveka, that model we use, there we looked at the the Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, the Manomaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. And the Atma is different from all these 5 koshas. So the self that I am, the Atma that I am all different from all these. And if I'm thinking that I'm any one of these, I am making a mistake. I'm making an error, adhyasa. I'm superimposing any one of these on the Atma, and therefore that model helps us to clarify who I am. This is all Shravana, the Dehatraya model, the 3 bodies model, the Panchakosha model. They are all Shravana. The first time we are hearing. Then we also looked at Avastatraya. There are 3 avastas: the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. And I am present in all the 3, but I don't know it in any one of them. And therefore, the all the 3 states experience have to be rejected. That is also part of the Shravana. So having gotten this, then we got to Tattvamasi. The Guru instructs the student, you are that Atma. None of these components of the body or the components of the Panchakoshas or the experiences of the 3 waking states, the dream state and the deep sleep state. You are none of those. Tattvamasi, you are that which is the Atma that is supporting all these 3 states, the Atma that is supporting all the Panchakoshas, and the Atma that is supporting the 3 bodies. So this is all Shravana. Having done the Shravana, then it is upon the Shravana is given taught to the Shishya from the teacher. Now it is up to the Shishya to internalize it, in all these teachings, to digest that teachings within himself and constantly remind himself that he is not any one of these, but I am that Atma, and that is called Manana. That is what will in this verse Sri Ram Chandra describes to Lakshmana. Prakasha Rupo Aham Ajoham Advaya Sakrit Vibhato Aham Ativa Nirmala Vishuddha Vijnana Gano Niramaya Sampurna Anandamaya Amakriya. So constantly I am reminding myself, I am this Atma, which is Prakasha Rupaha, of the nature of consciousness. And Aham Ajaha, I am unborn. The body is born and the body is coming and going. No, I am not any one of those. So he digests this information and constantly dwells on it. And that way he strengthens the impressions that the Guru has taught in the Shravana. He strengthens them. So I am Advayaha, I am without a second. I am knowable only by the Jnana. Sakrit Vibhataha, Aham Ativa Nirmalaha, I am pure, I am all knower. I am free from miseries and Niramayaha, and free from miseries and blemishless, and Sampurna Anandamayaha. I am that bliss, I am that unchangeable, I am the one that does not participate in any action. So these are all the manana that I tell myself and again and again and again and strengthen the impressions of the Shravana. This is one verse. There are a couple of other verses, but I just am forgetting the continuity. I am taking one verse. Now, after this, I'm fully convinced that I am the Atma and I'm not the body, mind, etc., or the Panchakoshas. Then I have to experience this. All this now, I have an intellectual knowledge. Even Manana is very much an intellectual knowledge. But I have to experience it. In order to experience it, I have to meditate upon this. I am this, I am this, I am this. And what meditation is, I'm not any one of the inert objects that we talked about as the three bodies, panchakoshas. I like that. And so meditation involves what it is it's an imaginary process. There's nothing more else to it other than imaginary process. For example, I have to imagine that I will get into that in a little later. This very detailed model, but I have to imagine myself to be the Atma ultimately, and we will get to that. How to get to that imagining to be the Atma? We'll get to that. So, and in order to achieve this, I have to be, engaged in meditation in a quiet place. Evam sadatmanam akhanditatmana vicharamanasya vishuddha bhavana anyada vidyam achirena karakaihi rasayanam yatupasita rujaha. So he meditates on this self, sadatmanam akhanditamatmana. Continuous meditation, he succeeds in attaining perfection. How vicharamanasya vishuddha bhavana. Even in meditation, that vichara is happening, that I am not the body mind, I am the Atma, and that knowledge resulting from attaining perfection, that at once destroys the ignorance. Hanya davidyam achirena karakaihi. In a short while, this ignorance that I am the body and mind, that will evaporate, that will dissolve itself away. Like what? Like rasayanam yat upasitam rujaha. Like you take medication and the problem that is bothering you will go away like that. Like that, this ajnana also goes away. Ajnana is also a disease. So this ajnana goes away, and he is established in the Atma. So in order to do this, vivikta asina uparatendriyaha vinirjitatma vimalantarashaya vibhavaye dekam ananya sadhano vijnanadrik kevala atma samstitaha. So he must be seated in meditation in a suitable place, which is free of any other disturbances. I should not allow any sense organs to enter me. So the seeker must redirect sense organs inwards. Uparata indriya means the process of arresting outside influence within me and making more impressions. I should avoid that. That is uparatendriya. And then when that happens, there is a tendency for the impressions in the mind to kind of churn. And when that churning happens, they rise in the mind and they try to go out. That should not be let out. Vibhavaye dekam ananya sadhanaha vijnanadrik kevala atma samstitaha. So this what the sense impressions that try to escape, arrest that, and then because arresting it, there is scope for there may be a vacuum created, and there may be scope for new impressions coming from outside. Therefore, you want to avoid that. That mind has to quieten itself. Even those impressions that are coming, that are churning, that has to be calmed down, and that is what this Paratendriya does. You are not allowing any outside impressions to come. In the mind itself, they are becoming to a quiet state. That in that state, ultimately, we will realize the self. That's the method of teaching, and we have to, at this point, it's only theoretical for us. We cannot really fathom it, right? But we have to have the faith that other people have experienced it, and therefore we also, if we follow their lead, if we follow the practice that they are doing, we will also achieve that. So this is the viewer in this verse, as we concluded last class. Vishwam yadetat paramatma darshanam vilapayet atmani sarvakarane purnacchidanandamayo avatishtate na veda bahyam nacha kinchidantaram. So it's a gradual negation of the outside world. This is Vishwam yadetat paramatma darshanam. What is this Vishwa, this universe? This universe is nothing but Paramatma, that there is a superimposition on the Brahma, this universe, because of Vijnana. So I have to dissolve this universe, negate this universe, outside world, and ultimately, when I negate the outside world, I will be established in Atma. So now, in order to negate the outside world, I have to know how the universe is put together. The universe has come together. It didn't, just like one day there was no universe, next day there is a universe, just like what we are seeing now. It didn't happen like that. It happened through a process. Therefore, we have to understand what the properly what the process is, and then whatever the creation process, we will go counterclockwise to that, counter to that creation, and then we'll start one by one, dissolve one in the other. But we'll get to that. So the Paramatma entering into after creating the universe, the Paramatma entered into the universe. It's a way of saying that's all. There is no real entering of the Paramatma, because the Paramatma is pervading everywhere and the universe is a projection on it. It's as if saying that the Paramatma enters the universe, because the universe itself is inert, but the jivas are sentient. So where did the sentient come from? The sentient come from the consciousness, and therefore that Paramatma enters into it is a way of saying that's all. It's not really like Paramatma enters into it. So Vishwam yadetat Paramatma darshanam, the visible universe, which is Paramatma himself, sarva karane atmani vilapaye. So this universe has to be dissolved. Where? It should be dissolved in the mind. In my mind is the universe. The universe that I have in my mind, I have to dissolve it. How do I dissolve it? By uparata, by being stopping all new impressions coming in, and let the impressions in the mind slowly dissipate without doing any churning in it. Then it will come to a stable state. So this is sarva karane atmani vilapaye. So this universe must be merged in the or dissolved in the atma, the sole source of the universe. Because where is the universe coming from? It is coming from the atma itself. So having thus dissolved the universe in the atma, purnaschidanandamaya avatistate, he stands alone in the state of the Brahma, in the state of Ananda, that he stays, he is established in Ananda, and then he will enjoy this place. Now, Veda Bahyam Nacha Kinchin Antaram. In that state, there is no inside outside, because inside outside comes when you are creating a finite entity. If it's a finite entity, there is an outside at the finite entity, but in an infinite entity, there is no inside and outside. Everything is infinite, and therefore, this person who is established in that place, he does not see anything outside him. He does not see anything inside him. He is everything. That's what it means. So, in that climax of the bliss, he has no cognition of inside or outside, because inside and outside is only with respect to something finite. My home, there is finite, there is inside and outside. But when my home becomes the entire universe, there is no inside, there is no outside. That is what we have to, Veda Bahyam Nata Kinchidantaram. That's what we experience in that state of bliss in meditation. This is all, as I said, this is theoretical knowledge for us. But if we follow the instructions of the Guru, we will be there. That is the promise of the Upanishad. So, in order to get the outside world, is like in the last class we discussed this, the Taittiriya Upanishad. Tasmadva tasmad atmana akasha sambhuta. From the Atma first came the space. I said we are now discussing the process. I said earlier that the universe did not appear just like that one day. There's a process for that to happen, and that process is from the Atma, the akasha, the space came into existence. Once the space is made into the air currents started in it, akasha, vayu. Then when there is movement of air, there is movement. Anytime there is a movement, there is friction and there is heat, vayu or agni, and then agni rapaha. Then there is it comes to a point where the universe cannot sustain the heat anymore. It gets cooled by the water, adhyas prithvi, because this prithvi, then when all these, according to science model, this works very well. They call the Big Bang or whatever, the explosion or whatever it is. Then there is a lot of heat generated, and that heat, in order to that heat becomes so much, heat is nothing but hydrocarbons. So the hydrogen and oxygen also is there, and they become water vapor. And then there is heavy rains, and the heavy rains cool, and the earth is formed when the heavy rain cools. That's what the scientific model describes. Something similar to that here is being described in Taittiriya Upanishad, even much before that. So, Adbhya Prithvi, from the water comes the earth, and Prithivya Oshadhyaha, then the vegetation came from the earth, Oshadibhyo Annam, from the Oshadi of the plants came Anna, food, Annat Purushaha. The Manushya Purusha, the human being, is sustained by the Anna or the food. So this is the general model of the creation process. So this is where we were. The main characteristic of Akasha is sound. It is susceptible to vibrations. Now, after the creation of the Akasha, the Atma joined hands with Akasha, and it created Vayu Tattva, the Vayu having the characteristics of touch. Like this, from the Vayu, from Akasha, Vayu, and space, Akasha, Vayu, and Atma come together to create fire or the Agni, and then the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, and Atma come together to form water, and like this the earth is also created. And then there is, once there is the earth, and now these 5 elements that we have discussed, they are the subtle elements. They themselves cannot be part of the universe per se, the physical universe, and therefore those tanmatras go through the panchikarana. We have discussed this panchikarana in one of the earlier classes. So the panchikarana then all the 5 elements are in different proportions, and then that gives rise to the gross earth. The gross earth then generates plants and trees, and then the food, and then the living beings come into existence. So the universe emanating from the Paramatma, nurtured by Paramatma at every state, it remains as Paramatma alone. The universe is not different from Paramatma. It sustains only appearing to ignorant people as universe, but it is Paramatma or Parabrahma, and Tatsrishtva, having created this universe, Tadevanu Pravishata. So he enters into that universe. That's what now this universe has become sentient through me and you. Now, the Paramatma remains as this indweller in the universe. Vishwamyadetat Paramatma Darshanam. So this visible universe, that which is Paramatma himself, this universe, now I have to dissolve and remove the universe from the error that I am causing. I am looking at that Brahma is the universe. So once I dissolve the universe, then I will see the Parabrahma. Sarve karane atmani vilapaye. So this universe has to be merged in the Atma, in the mind. So in the mind, I have to merge the universe so that my mind is occupied only by the Atma. Having thus dissolved the universe in the Atma, Purnas Chidanandamaya Avatistate, he is in full experience of that Chidananda, that yes, he experiences. Na Veda Bahyam Nacha Kinchit Antaram. So he does not see any inside or outside. So everything is non-dual Brahma. And this understanding, if we have, then we have the conviction to get into the meditation after going through the Shravana and Manana. But how is this achieved? How do I really dissolve this universe that I'm thinking, I'm seeing here around around me? What is the meaning of dissolving? This has to be executed through imagination. We will have to imagine certain things. That imagining process I will describe in the next slide. So the Upanishad has said that the Akasha has emerged from the Atma, from Akasha to Vayu, etc., etc., etc. So I have to imagine, means imagine the next in forgetting the present. I will get to the picture itself. This is how the universe is created. From the Atma, the space came into existence. From the space, the air, fire, water, earth, plantation, food, and then the human beings and animal beings, everybody came into existence. Now I am sitting here as a Annamaya Kosha, and I have to now dissolve this entire universe and get to here. That is the process. So the first I have to say myself that I am not this body, the Annamaya Kosha. So in Annamaya Kosha, I disown Annamaya Kosha, or merge the Annamaya Kosha, then I am only the Manomaya Kosha and the Vijnanamaya Kosha, etc. Then you come here, you come to this point. And when you come to this point, what we see around is all the vegetation. When you see the vegetation, what is supporting the vegetation? The earth is supporting the vegetation. Now I have to remove all vegetation and see only the earth. So if I come to this point, here I am sitting, I am seeing the vegetation. I imagine only the universe and not the vegetation. That is what the dissolution or the merging or dissolving means. So I have to dissolve all the vegetation and only imagine the earth or the universe. Now when I am sitting here, I have come from here to here, now I come from here to here, then I am sitting here, I am seeing the universe, but I know the universe came from water, so I have to dissolve the universe in water. That's where we are now. So I am sitting here now, I have dissolved the earth, the vegetation, everything, and at this point in my mind, there is no earth, or there is no universe, there is no vegetation, there is no food, nothing. I am seeing only the water. I am seeing water everywhere. Now I sit here, and this is my current state, water. I have to merge this water in the fire, because the water came from the fire. I have that Shravana knowledge that the water came from the fire. So I have to imagine fire everywhere. And as I proceed, in this state of meditation, imagining only the fire and not the water, then I will forget water and I will come to the fire. Now I am sitting here, and then I imagine I'm seeing only fire. I know the fire came from the water, I mean the air. So now I should imagine only air. I should, like if you have some experience of a hurricane or something like that, or a tornado or something, just imagine that, air currents like that. So then you will put behind yourself the fire. You are only seeing the air and nothing else. You are not seeing anything else. So now, after the fire also, after the air, then you are sitting here and you have to, where is the air coming from? Air is coming from the akasha or space. So air is located in space. So now I have to retire the air and only see the akasha. And so I have dissolved the air also. I am sitting here seeing only the akasha. When I am seeing only the akasha, and I continue to only focus on the atma, because atma is where from whom the akasha came into existence. Now see, this is a very beautiful model. You go from the grossest, that is the earth, to the subtlest, the akasha. Now, the subtlety of akasha and the subtlety of the atma are only there's only a small difference in the subtlety of the akasha and the subtlety of the atma. So now you are sitting here seeing only the subtle akasha. The next step becomes easier for me to negate the akasha and see only the atma. This is how the model, we are going from one gross level to lesser gross to a lesser gross, and then come to a subtler, subtlest, like that. So we come to this point when we are meditating on the space itself. Meditating me on the space means imagining only space. Somewhere along the line, the space also disappears, and that light of the Atma shines within inside me. That is the experience of the self, realizing the self. And in that self, there is no sense objects, nothing like Akasha or anything. I'm only in bliss, because we know it is blissful from the deep sleep experience. The deep sleep is very blissful for us, where there is no universe. Now, in a waking state, you are experiencing that deep sleep state of deep bliss in the real time. When I was in deep sleep, I didn't know at that time that I was in bliss. Only the morning experience tells me that I was blissful. Now here, when he comes to dissolve the space also, he is experiencing that bliss, and that bliss is the Atma, and he has realized the Atma that he is. So it's a continuous process of recreating the process of creation in the opposite way. Instead of creation, you start dissolving. In fact, that is what happens in our model of, like a continuous creation and dissolution. When we say the universe is dissolving, pralaya, we say, that is what happens. They happen step by step in the same way that we discussed now. And that you experience in your own waking state. In real time, you will experience that bliss. So that is the process of dissolution. And when that happens, the Akasha is also dissolved, and he is sitting only as Parabrahma, the Atma. Now, we looked at this model, this picture some time ago. I brought to see this again in this context. Let's explain this. Now, here are all these fishes. Now, these fishes are here. They are not worried about anything. They get their food or something. They are ajnani, the ignorant fishes. Now, someone among them thought hey, I have heard something about a bird. The bird has more freedom. It can go anywhere it wants. I'm stuck in this water. So I want to become a bird. And this bird goes to a teacher and it hears about the characteristics of the bird. And that is the Shravana. This bird, this fish, let us follow. So this fish, all these fishes are ignorant fishes. They are happy with what they are getting and they are not concerned about anything. But there is this one fish that is interested in becoming a bird, and it hears the quality characteristics of the bird, and that's the Shravana. Now it starts thinking about it more and more. I want to become a bird. I want to fly. I want to go everywhere. The characteristics of the bird, it is imagining, and that is the manana. This fish compared to this, it has lost some of the, as the picture shows, it has lost some of the features of the fish. The, um, its characteristics have kind of mushed, and its fins have become kind of merged in the body, and there's some change going on. That's all we can say. Like that, change goes on in our mind. All the rajas and tamas are removed, are reduced, and then the sattva increases. So in that, see, this whatever the physical changes undergoing in this fish, that kind of change happens in our mind, because in the mind we have to see the Atma. So the manana strengthens the sattva guna and dilutes the rajoguna and tamoguna, because you are always thinking of the Brahma, which is of the sattva guna, and I am negating the body mind, and therefore there is not much interaction with the outside world. The rajas and tamas are reduced. Now this fish then gets into a liberated mode. It gets into meditation, and it gets into this liberated mode, and it is liberated. And before liberation, there is one more step. This fish, if you see, this fish is less evolved, it appears as. This, it has lost some more features of the fish, and it has finally, it gets liberated. Now this picture is only here to indicate changes happening to the fish as it goes through the Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. And just to capture where something similar happens in our mind. See, this example is only a fictitious example. It's not, as any example in Vedanta has to be supported by a life experience. But like the Rajju Sarpa, you see a snake in a rope, or you see the nacre in a shell. You see silver in nacre. So like this, those are physical examples which we experience. Those are the experience valid in Vedanta. Now, this experience per se is not valid in Vedanta, but we are discussing this just to show changes happen during Manana and Nididhyasana, and those changes are being described here in this fictitious picture of the fish becoming the bird. So like this, ultimately, once that liberation happens, like that in our mind, that liberation from the, say, transmigration, samsara happens when we totally merge the body and the mind in the Atma. So the Nididhyasana and the liberation happens, Manana, Nididhyasana, and liberation. So like this is all the earth in water, water in fire, fire in Vayu, and Vayu in Akasha, and Akasha, that is the infinite space. And when you contemplate on this Akasha, like the Akasha disappears. You contemplate on the Atma in the state of Akasha. That's what it should read. So then there's a supreme light, Akasha, that consciousness you experience. That is the Atma. So this is an imagination today, but as you practice this, you will ultimately realize this. So this is the process of meditation. It's really nothing any fancy or anything. Just like sometimes you're watching a TV show, you're so absorbed in the TV show, and you have in your side, you have the coffee or some drink you have when you are observing the show or any other activity. You forget about this coffee or tea that you have. You may be reading something, you are so absorbed in reading, you forget about the coffee or tea. How did that happen? That is the imagination that we are talking here is something similar to that. That when you are so intensely focused on something, your other current state, what you are in, is dissolved. Only the new state that reflects on what you are so focused on, that appears. So this is the process of meditation from step to step, going from where I am today as an Annamaya Kosha. I negate all the food, and then I get to the plantation, the vegetation. I negate all the vegetation. I get to the universe. I negate all the universe. I get to the water. I negate all the water. I get to the fire, and I get negate the fire. I get to Vayu or air. And from the Vayu, I negating it, I am in Akasha, and I negate the Akasha, I am in Atma. That is the process of meditation, wherein you slowly transform from the body consciousness to Atma consciousness, Atma. Now, in the continuing in next verse, this contemplation technique he is describing. Purvam samadhera kilam vichintayet onkaramatram sacharacharam jagat tadeva vachyam pranavo hi vachako vibhavyate jnanavashanna bodhataha. Now, Sri Ramchandra is introducing another aspect of the Advaita Vedanta. Let's read this, learn this. Uma is not here today, so Vanita, you can help me repeating after me. All right?
Okay, so Ramakrishna.
Okay. Purvam samadhe akilam vichintayet.
Purvam samadeh akilam vichintayet. Purvam samadher akilam vichintayet.
Omkaramatram sacharacharam jagat.
Omkaramatram sacharacharam jagat. Omkaramatram sacharacharam jagat.
Tadeva vachyam pranavo hi vachako.
Tadeva vachyam pranavo hi vachako. Tadeva vachyam pranavo hi vachako.
Vibhavyate ajnanavashat nabodhataha.
Vibhavyate ajnanavashat
bodhataha. It is vashana is vashat na bodhataha. Vibhavyate ajnanavashat na bodhataha.
Vibhavyate ajnanavashat bodhataha. Sorry. Vibhavyate ajnanavashat bodhataha.
Vashat na bodhataha. Vashana, you can also say vashana. Vibhavyate ajnanavashanna bodhataha.
Vibhavyate ajnanavashanna bodhataha.
Okay, good. All right, so now we are entering another aspect of the meditation. Now this one aspect of the meditation we did, how to dissolve the universe in us, in our mind. That we went through now by the Taittiriya Upanishad model we went through. Now we are going through another model, that is the subject matter of the Mandukya Upanishad. And here he's suggesting this another technique. So that what we discussed just now was one technique. This is another technique. Samadehe purvam akhilam vichintaye. Before you sit for meditation, you should contemplate that everything is everything. What all things that we see around us is everything, means there is in everything there is other things also. It's a difficult concept to understand, but that is, I see so many things around me. Keep it that way, that I'm seeing so many things around me. And then what the Mandukya Upanishad says is Omkara Matram Sacharacharam Jagata. This everything that you are seeing around the world, around you, the everything that you are seeing around you, that is the universe, it encompasses what? Sacharacharam. This universe is Chara and Achara, the inanimate and the animate. What is it? It is Omkara itself. It is the Pranava or the Omkara. So everything in this universe is nothing but Pranava or the Omkara. That is what this this verse is telling, based on the Mandukya Upanishad. Because Tadeva Vachyam Pranamohi Vachakaha. That alone is the what is described. Pranava is the descriptor. Pranava, Omkara is the descriptor of the universe, and the universe as an object is the Vachyam, what is described. In anything, if you say cow, cow is a descriptor, and the object cow is the described. Like that, the universe, Pranava is the descriptor, and the universe is the described. The universe is the literal meaning, that is the Vachya, and Omkara or Pranava is the pronouncement of the descriptor. Like Rama, come here, if you say Rama is the pronouncement, that is the Vachaka, and the person identified by Rama is the described, he is the Vachya. So, Deva Vachyam Pranavohi Vachakaha. This universe, Tatyeva Vachyam, that is the what is described by what? By the Pranava. Pranava is the descriptor, and therefore the Pranava describes the universe. That is the first meaning here. Pranava is the name, Vachaka, and what the name is identifying is Jagat, that is the Vachya. Let's try to understand. So in the previous verse, there was one model of dissolving the Jagat universe was described, that is the going in the opposite direction of the creation process described in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Now, this is the another model, another technique. Now, in this technique, the seeker has the Shravana and Manana. And in the Shravana and Manana, he has come to understand that everything is everything. Nothing is different from the other. And when we get to that, nothing is different from the other, ultimately we will get to the Omkara. So, he is telling this contemplation technique where Samadehe Purvam Akhilam Vichintaye. Before you sit in the meditation itself, you think everything is everything. Omkara matram sacharacharam kirita. Whatever is seeing that you are seeing around you, that everything is the nothing but Omkara matram, is nothing but the Omkara. That whatever you are seeing in the universe, which is animate and inanimate, that encompasses the movable and stationary, the jiva and the jada, sentient and inert entities, are nothing but Pranava. You are Pranava, I am Pranava, this computer is Pranava, this table is Pranava, like that. Everything in the universe is Pranava. That is what he is describing here according to Mandukya Upanishad. Because Tadeva Vachya Pranavohi Vachakam. Universe is the described and the Omkara is the descriptor. Like we just saw, I'm kind of repeating that same sentiment here in this slide. So moving on. So Pranava is the name of the Vachaka, and what the name is identifying is the Jagat Vachya. Because of ignorance, the seeker sees the Jagat I don't see the pranava. This is what now we have to understand. Yeah, the seeker is only seeing the vachya. He is not seeing the vachaka at this point. So he is seeing the described, he is not seeing the descriptor. Because of ignorance, the seeker seeks the jagat. Vibhavyate ajnana vashat na bodhataha. Unable to see the pranava, the nature of jagat, he is, pranava is na bodhataha. Pranava is what? That is not clear, understandable to him, but he is seeing the universe. Because why? Because ajnana vashat. So the recognition of the jagat is not because of knowledge, but because of ignorance. See, this is a very profound statement. We study science, we study various aspects of science. We study music, arts, whatever we are studying. Here, Sri Ramchandra is saying all this is because of ignorance. You know, in our high school days, there used to be this competition, general knowledge competition. And in the general knowledge competition, you go and participate in it, and there will be questions given to you, and you have to answer them. Now, that is a general knowledge. We said, according to Vedanta, that is general ignorance. It's a very funny thing. So, because of ignorance, I think I know what this universe is. I know everything about this universe means I'm not knowledgeable, I'm an ignorant person. That is what Sri Ramchandra is saying. Recognition of the Jagat is not because of knowledge, but because of ignorance. So he does not have the right knowledge, even as the entire Jagat is of the nature of Pranava or the Omkara. He is not seeing the Jagat in its natural state, Pranava. The original state of the universe is Pranava, but he is seeing only the physical appearance, that is the described, and he's seeing the object, and he is not seeing the reality behind the object. So this is the duality he's seeing. He sees himself different from the universe. Therefore, he is here. The instruction from Sri Ramchandra is to contemplate on this Omkara, the Pranava. Now, what is this Omkara? That we will see in the next slide here. Pranava or Omkara has three syllables, A, U, and Ma. Akara, Ukara, Makara. How did this Om come from? A and U make O in Sanskrit. If you do a Sandhi, in the Sandhi, A, U becomes O. A plus U. If the first word ends with Akara, and the second word begins with an Ukara, then that Sandhi becomes O. So this A, U becomes O, and Yam becomes, the Ma becomes Yam, so Omkara. That's how it comes. So this Pranava is described both in Upanishads and in the Bhagavad Gita as a marker of Parabrahma, is an indicator of Parabrahma. This Omkara, we saw in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the Omkara, Omityekaksharam Brahma. That's what comes in the 8th chapter. So this supreme Parabrahma is indicated by the Pranava, and the Pranava is the indicator of the supreme Brahma. And there is, some Upanishads call the Parabrahma itself as Omkara. They're one and the same. So this, what is this A-U-Ma? Why is so much importance given to this A-U-Ma? Now there is one explanation. If the sound A comes from deep down in our vocal cord, it is a sound that is generated starting from the deep down in the vocal cord. Now, that is at the base of the throat. The second, the third aspect or the character of this Om, Ma, is generated by closing both the lips. When you say Ma, your lips close. Your lips has to be closed to generate the sound Ma. So now the U is coming from the base of the throat all the way to the lips. The sound U is when you say it is extending from the where the A originates and where the Ma ends. So A, U, Ma, therefore, encompasses the entire sound spectrum. You know, when you say Ka, there is a certain way of saying it. When you say Ta, there is a certain way of saying it. The different aspects of the the tongue. The tongue touches different aspects of the mouth, and therefore all these sounds are enclosed in A, U, Ma. This is what the Upanishads describes, and this is what Sri Swami Vivekananda has described here also. So the sound Om therefore encompasses the entire spectrum of sounds coming from our vocal organ. Now, sounds can be generated through the vocal cord as this range from A to Ma through the sound U. Now, this range is nothing but pranava. This pranava or the Omkara is this range, A, U, Ma. Om is the fundamental sound which includes every other sound which can be produced by the vocal cord. Now, as I said, you can produce the sound A, you can produce this consonant ka, cha, ta, ta, pa, etc. So they all are a subset of the A, U, Ma, the sound that can be generated, that would be generated in saying Om. So what is sound? Sound is, after all, physical waves, right? Now, this physical wave, now I'm getting into some mathematics here. This is not in, in the Ramagita. This is, I'm trying to justify how this works, all right? So bear with me if you don't understand. Some of you may have done some in college. And what this is there's a technique in mathematics called 4-year series. I don't know how many of you have done. This is, if you are a science major in college, you will probably study this in your sophomore or junior year of the college. And there is another variation of this 4-year series called 4-year integral that you will study only in graduate school. Now, anyway, what this is describing is this. Okay, Ratinasamy, go ahead, and you raised your hand. Go ahead, ask the question. Can you unmute?
I don't know how it got raised up.
Yeah, he didn't raise it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. There was no screen on my screen. There came and you raised the hand. Okay, sorry about it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry
Oh,
about that.
sorry about that.
No problem. Now, this is a square wave. You know what a wave is. So this is a complete square wave that is described in mathematics, let us say. Now, how to express this square wave is described in mathematics as a summation of all these various colored waves. Now, this is a sine wave. Now this can be generated by a combination of all these waves. That is what 4-year series means. I'm not right now getting into any mathematics per se. I'm describing. Now, let us say in order to generate this, if I cannot generate it mathematically in any other way, I cannot really generate it mathematically. Then the 4-year series says you can add this plus the blue plus the red or the pink, the green, etc. Now, how this, for example, if you take this as the base curve, now this overshoots this square portion by this amount here. Now that is compensated by the green and the blue waves. The green and the blue waves are below the horizontal line. The orange is over the horizontal line. So these two compensate for this overshoots this reduces it. And ultimately, the more number of curves you have in the addition process, you approximate this square wave. Like here, this is what is describing the square wave. Now, the sawtooth is another one. This is the example of this sawtooth, and that is generated by various curves. And they all have a mathematical expression, how to express this sine wave, how to express these, all these are there in the mathematical field, but just take it from me that this is the descriptor here, in effect, that any sound wave can be, we are talking sound waves here. In order to generate this sound wave, I have to add all these things. This is what happens in your cell phone when you call. Certain pattern of waves is generated, and that wave by itself cannot be transmitted through the telephone wires or the medium, wireless medium, and therefore they break it into different components, and that is what this looks like. So you can anything in this universe can be generated. Any sound wave can be generated by a combination of multiple sound waves that can be defined. If particularly if you are talking on the phone, it generates a certain sound wave, but that sound wave by itself cannot be mathematically described. And to describe that mathematically, that sound wave, to add various kinds of waves and make it look like this that particular sound wave. So now this is the point where I'm bringing this to do with pranava. Now A-U-Ma, it indicates all possible sound waves, and the universe has so many millions and billions of objects. Each object has a descriptor, and that descriptor can be defined by a certain sound wave, and that sound wave is now superimposed on one on the other through the billions of objects, and then that will create the pranava. That's the basic understanding here that I need to. Why am I bringing this? I need not have brought this up, but this gives some credibility to our understanding pranava. So, for example, the sounds that can be generated through the vocal cord has a range of sounds ranging from A to Ma through the sound U. This range is nothing but pranava, we said. Now, this fundamental sound, which includes every other sound, can be produced by the vocal cord. In other words, Om is the source of all sounds. If I have to describe what Om is the summation of the descriptor of all objects of universe. I hope you can understand this. In the universe, there is the cow, there is the horse, there is the dog, there is the computer. Everything has a vachaka, a descriptor. Now, this descriptor is nothing but when you utter it, it is a sound wave. And when you combine all these sound waves into one wave, what you get is the Om. That is what this says. Now, what is that object of a universe? This is the Fourier series I was talking about. By varying this A0, A1, Bn, etc., you can generate different kinds of waves to come up with the wave that is the descriptor of that one object of universe. And when you combine all those descriptors of the waves of all the descriptors, you get the Om. So this Om is a descriptor, a aggregate descriptor of everything in the universe as a sound wave. And that's what here, this Omkara, when it includes all the sounds from A to Ma through the sound U. So that means any sound wave can be expressed as a fraction of the Omkara, or put the other way, all sound waves ultimately add up to the Omkara sound wave. Now, as an example, this is a very interesting, while I was looking for something, this is what I came up with. See, this is the picture of two women here. Now, the descriptor of these two women and the background, that is mapped into this through this Fourier series or Fourier integral. This picture that you see here, even the the brick wall you can see in the back. Now all this is generated by sound waves, and here it says Fourier transforms are incredibly useful tools for the analysis and manipulation of sounds and images. Now the reason I am showing this is, as I said, the Omkara has that power. That for us to feel that the Omkara has the power. See, look at this, just this one picture, how much of information is required to generate this one picture through the sound. Now, how much of information should be there in the Omkara to be able to describe everything in the universe, every object in the universe. That's the level of information that Omkara has, and that infinite information is the Parabrahma, expressed in the Omkara form. So now there is a comparison of this Omkara in the Chandogya Upanishad. Now we said that Omkara represents all sound waves that is the descriptors of every object in the universe. Now this is another way of saying Omkara is like the central nerve in a leaf. If you take a leaf, there are several nerves in it, but the central leaf, as they say, in the middle of the leaf, there is a big nerve, and that big nerve is the Omkara, and along with the other nerves also. So the rest of the nerves are attached to that central nerve. There is one central nerve. They're like the architecture of the leaf. If you take the green stuff that appears between the nerves is the material of the leaf, but the material of the leaf is sustained by the nerve system of the leaf itself, and that leaf system, that nerve system is the Omkara. In other words, this Omkara is what supports the universe, like the nerves of the leaf support the entire leaf. The nerves are the Omkara supports the entire universe. That's the comparison here. So in the commentary of Brahma Sutras, Shankaracharya, he makes this comment. The mantras of Rigveda, during the time of creation, Paramatma uttered the sound Gau or Brahma. Brahma, creator Brahma uttered the sound Gau. Gau means cow. So in his creation process, he says Gau. Then a cow appeared in front of him. He uttered the word Indra. Indra was created. Now, if you look at all our learning process, our mothers told us, they showed the object, the cow, and said this is a cow, and then I relate that object to the cow if I see that again. But Creator Brahma first has the Vachaka, the descriptor, and then the describe the object comes. How does this happen? And that means he knows from the past experience. He knew from the previous creation. In the previous creation, he was somebody, and he was an evolved being in the previous life. Now, although being an evolved being, he knows all about his past life, and he knew a cow in the past life, and he said cow, and a cow appeared. He said Indra, and Indra appeared. So the order of acquiring knowledge in our life is opposite of what the Creator created. So first comes the name and then the object. According to this, the source of every object is its name, and the form appears following the name and sound. First, the waves, the Omkara. This is what is being related now. Omkara, you first, a part of the Omkara you recite, and then that object that relates to that part of the Omkara comes in your front. And like that, all objects of the world are created. And therefore, the universe is created by these sound waves. And these sound waves, the aggregate of these sound waves is the Omkara. That's the message here. So if all sounds in the universe are contained in the Omkara Pranama, then all the objects in the universe have their source in the Omkara is the conclusion we have to make. So every object has a descriptor, and that descriptor is contained in Omkara. So if the descriptor is contained in the Omkara, and the Omkara supports all the objects of the universe, then all the objects in the universe have their origin, have their source in the Omkara. That conclusion comes because the described is not different from the descriptor. The descriptor is contained in the Omkara, then the described is also contained in the Omkara. And the described is contained in the Omkara in what form? In the form of the universe. Therefore, universe has the source in Omkara. So all the source of all objects in the universe, we have already said from Parabrahma comes all the objects of the universe. So now we make the equation Omkara is equal to Parabrahma. See, in the previous one, we said all the objects in the universe have their source in the Omkara. Now, we also know only Parabrahma created the entire universe. Therefore, all objects of the universe are sourced in Parabrahma. That is one statement. This is the other statement. All objects of the universe are sourced in Omkara. Therefore, Omkara is Parabrahma. Thus, it's only intuitive to understand that Parabrahma is Pranama or Pranama is Parabrahma. They are not different. That is what we said, Omite Akshara Brahma, in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So, therefore, the visible universe is Omkara. The visible universe. This is why I wanted to show you that particular mathematics, description, that visible universe is Omkara. Now, Pranama is the name, that is the Vachaka descriptor, and what that name is identifying is Jagat or the Vacha. The Omkara is the descriptor or the Vachaka, and the universe is the Vacha or described. Now, the Pranama is the fundamental sound, Shabda Brahma, and if I don't know how many of you have come across, the NASA research has shown that the outer atmosphere has the sound of Om coming all the time. They have made a research, the NASA, that if you do a Google search, you see that. So this Pranama, this fundamental sound is in the universe, in the form of sound waves, and is appearing as the universe. This Pranama, therefore, is appearing as the universe. The universe appearing as we experience is due to ignorance. So our experience of the universe through the sense organs is due to ignorance, whereas the fundamental sound is the reality. That is the that appears to be the universe, but it is not really reality. So the 3 syllables of Omkara are invoked in meditation, therefore, and this meditation technique, which uses these 3 syllables, it has a slightly different process. We will get to that from when we get to that verse. So knowing that the outside universe is Omkara and bringing the outside universe in his mind, how should the seeker reconcile who is he? This is the subject matter of the next verse, where he describes the meditation process. So I am sitting in the meditation. I see the universe around me. Remember, I said everything is everything. We have to make an assumption there. And that universe is described by Omkara. How do I reach from my level of seeing the objects of the universe and then end up in Omkara? That is what is the process. And that is described in the next verse, which we will discuss more detail in the next class. Let us read the verse itself. Akara sanya purusho hi vishwako hi ukara staijasa iryate kramat prajño makara paripatyate akhilaihi samadhi purvam natu tattvato bhavet. Let me just explain this a little and then we'll do the learning diversity in the next class. So the process of meditation in this in this Omkara meditation goes like this. There is a Vishwa, he says Akara Sanyo Purushohi Vishwako. There is a Vishwa. Vishwa is the state of the Jivatma in the waking state. We will get into more details on this how in the next class. Taijasa is the name given to the Jivatma in the dream state, and Prajna is the name given to the Jivatma in the deep sleep state. There is the Jivatma in all the three states, and they have a different name in this Mandukya Upanishad as Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. Whenever they say Taijasa, then we should understand that we are talking about the dream experience of the Jivatma. So the now all the three, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna, I said, are the names given to Jivatma. The Jivatma is only a temporary name. The underlying experience is the Paramatma. Now, in meditation, because we are looking at Jivatma as a state, now we have to dissolve the Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna in the Paramatma, which is called Turiya, the fourth one. Turiya means the fourth one. This is the first, second, third, and the Turiya is the fourth one. So I have to transcend Vishwa. Vishwa is arbitrarily described as the Akara of the Omkara, Auma. We will get to a little more detail on that. Taijasa is recognized as the Ukara, U, and the Prajna is recognized as the Makara. So Auma are arbitrarily described as Prajna, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna. It's only because all the three are, we are talking here, Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna are temporary, or they only have an appearance. They are not reality. Jivatma is not reality. The Jivatma is only an appearance. And the Akara, Ukara, Makara are also appearance. There is no reality to it. And therefore, the Vishwa is, if you associate Vishwa with Akara, Tejasa with Ukara, and Prajna with Makara, it's all right. That's the argument there. So, and now when you dissolve this or transcend the Vishwa, Tejasa, and Prajna and experience Turiya, that is the Omkara, the fourth state, this is called the realization. This is called the Ardhamatra. This sound of Omkara is not a sound heard through the ear. It's not what you, if I say, oh, that's not what you hear, is not. It's an experience that happens in the person. So the seeker is chanting the Om for a long time. And over a period of time, the sound recedes and merges with the Vayu Tattva, air principle. Turiya is the experience that is experienced when Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna are negated in meditation. So there is a process of meditation. We will see that in the next class. And when you negate the Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna, then this Atma, the Turiya, which is nothing but the Parabrahma, is experience. This by arriving at the Samadhi or the Natu Tattvato Bhave. It is not to be understood by teaching, not after self-knowledge eliminates or is experienced. So it does not exist in reality, but to experience the reality, this has to be understood. So this in the mind, you arrive at the samadhi, and you don't really learn it by tattvato bhave. It is not to be understood by teaching, it has to be experienced. So the basis for understanding this way is the statement of the Shruti. The Shruti describes it that way, and that is how it is presented. The process of meditation that describes the negation of three forms of jiva. As I said, the jivatma in waking state is called the Vishwa, the jivatma in dream state is called the Tejasa, and the jivatma in deep sleep state is called the Prajna. And we have to negate the jivatma, means we have to negate the three states. This is easily comprehensible than negating the jivatma. That's what this is saying. So that will be described in the next three verses, the 50, 51, and 52. They describe how to merge the jiva, the vishwa in the akara, how to merge the taijasa in the ukara, and how to merge the prajna in the makara, and then ultimately we'll experience the fourth state. So that is the subject matter for the process for realization using this technique. We will see this in the next class. I'm sorry if this is very tough. There is not much we can do about it. We have to slowly observe this, and we will see when we see the next three verses. Maybe it becomes a little more clear. Let's stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu.
Pranamastu.
Okay, let's see here. Stop recording.